Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to knock on your door, hand you a golden ticket, and tell you that you are finally ready. The most uncomfortable truth you will ever have to face is that the world is entirely indifferent to your potential. It does not care about your dreams. It does not care about your hidden talents, and it certainly does not care about your excuses. We live in a society that is obsessed with the idea of being discovered. Most people spend their best years waiting. They wait for a boss to recognize their hard work. They wait for a partner to validate their worth. They wait for a sign from the universe that it is finally time to start. But while they are waiting, the world keeps moving. The 99% are trapped in a cycle of seeking external permission for their internal ambitions. They are paralyzed by the fear that if they step out of line, if they truly claim their greatness, they will be judged or rejected. This is the fundamental divide between those who achieve and those who merely watch. The hard truth is this: if you do not believe in yourself, nobody else will. Why should they? Why should anyone invest their time, their money, or their trust in someone who is clearly unsure of their own value? Confidence is not a personality trait that you are born with. It is not a gift bestowed upon a lucky few by the gods of talent. Confidence is a choice. It is a decision to trust your own judgment over the opinions of the crowd. It is a commitment to your own vision even when the path is dark and the destination is miles away. You have spent far too long looking outward for the validation that can only come from within. You have been told to be humble, to stay in your lane, and to wait your turn. I am here to tell you that your turn is right now, but only if you are willing to seize it. This audiobook is not a collection of feel-good platitudes. It is a manual for a total internal revolution. We are going to diagnose exactly why you have been holding back. We are going to dismantle the myths that have kept you playing small. We are going to look at the 99% and understand exactly what they are doing wrong so that you can do the opposite. You are the protagonist of this story, but up until now, you have been acting like an extra in someone else's movie. That ends today. The central thesis of this work is simple. Your external reality will always be a reflection of your internal conviction. If you view yourself as a victim, the world will treat you like one. If you view yourself as a leader, the world will eventually follow. But it all starts with that first, solitary spark of self-belief that exists before there is any evidence to support it. You must believe in the result before the result exists. You must act like the person you want to become long before you have the accolades to prove it. This is the blueprint for the exceptional. This is the formula for the 1%. If you are ready to stop making excuses and start taking radical responsibility for your own life, then listen closely. The journey begins with the realization that your lack of self-belief is the only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live. It is time to stop asking for permission and start demanding excellence from yourself. Chapter 1: The Architecture of Internal Conviction. Self-belief is often misunderstood as a form of arrogance or a blind ignore of reality. Most people think that you need a reason to believe in yourself. They think you need a degree, a certain amount of money in the bank, or a history of massive success before you can walk into a room with your head held high. This is the first and most dangerous myth we must destroy. If you wait for evidence to believe in yourself, you will be waiting forever. Self-belief is the cause of success, not the result of it. The 99% live their lives in reverse. They say, once I get the promotion, then I will feel confident. They say, once I lose the weight, then I will love myself. They are placing their internal state at the mercy of external conditions. This makes them fragile. If the promotion doesn't come, their confidence stays in the gutter. If they don't see immediate results at the gym, their self-love evaporates. You must understand that the architecture of internal conviction is built from the inside out. It starts with a fundamental decision that you are capable of handling whatever the world throws at you. This is not about knowing you will win every time. It is about knowing that you will not be destroyed by a loss. Most people are terrified of failure because they tie their entire identity to the outcome of their actions. When they fail at a task, they tell themselves, "I am a failure." When they are rejected by a peer, they tell themselves, "I am unworthy." The exceptional individual decouple their identity from their results. They understand that failure is merely data. It is feedback. It is a teacher. To build real self-belief, you must start by auditing the foundations of your mind. What are the stories you tell yourself when nobody is listening? Most people have a constant soundtrack of self-doubt playing in the background of their lives. They are their own harshest critics, constantly pointing out their flaws and reminding themselves of their past mistakes. This is a form of mental sabotage. You would never allow a friend to speak to you the way you speak to yourself. Why do you tolerate it from your own mind? You must become the guardian of your internal dialogue. You must recognize that your thoughts are not necessarily truths. They are often just old patterns of conditioning that you picked up from parents, teachers, and a society that benefits from your insecurity. The architecture of conviction requires you to build a new narrative. This narrative isn't based on false positivity. It is based on radical honesty and a commitment to growth. You need to look at your potential and realize that it is an untapped resource. Think of a skyscraper. Before it ever reaches the clouds, the builders must dig deep into the earth. They must create a foundation that is strong enough to support the massive weight of the structure. Your self-belief is that foundation. If it is shallow, the first storm of criticism or the first earthquake of failure will bring you crashing down. But if your foundation is deep, if it is rooted in a core sense of self-respect and a refusal to settle for mediocrity, you can build as high as you want. Most people are building on sand. They are looking for quick fixes and external validation to prop up their shaky egos. They want the appearance of confidence without the substance of it. You, however, are going to build on bedrock. You are going to develop a sense of self-trust that is so strong it becomes your default state. This begins by keeping the promises you make to yourself. Every time you say you are going to wake up early and you actually do it, your self-belief grows. Every time you say you are going to finish a project and you see it through to the end, you are adding a brick to your foundation. Conversely, Every time you break a promise to yourself, you are chipping away at your own credibility. You cannot believe in someone who lies to you, and that includes yourself. Most people are chronic liars when it comes to their own intentions. They make New Year's resolutions they have no intention of keeping. They tell themselves they will start their business on Monday, but Monday comes and goes with nothing but excuses. This leads to a deep-seated sense of self-betrayal. You cannot have high self-belief if you do not trust yourself to follow through. Therefore, the first step in building the architecture of conviction is to become a person of your word. Start with small, manageable promises. Promise yourself you will read 10 pages of a book today. Promise yourself you will go for a 15-minute walk. As you keep these small promises, your brain starts to realize that you are a person who gets things done. This is the birth of genuine confidence. It is a slow, methodical process of stacking wins. The 99% want the win without the work. They want to feel like a champion without having gone through the training. But true conviction is forged in the fire of consistent action. It is the result of thousands of tiny decisions made in the dark when no one is watching. When you finally step into the light, people will say you are naturally confident. They will say you have a gift, but you will know the truth. You will know that your belief was built brick by brick, through discipline, through honesty, and through a refusal to let yourself down. This chapter is about shifting your focus from the external world to the internal one. It is about realizing that you are the architect of your own identity. You are not a finished product. You are a work in progress. And the most important work you will ever do is the work of believing that the progress is possible. Stop looking for a sign. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are ready. The only person who needs to be convinced of your potential is you. Once you are convinced, the rest of the world will have no choice but to agree. Chapter 2: The 99% Trap and the Psychology of Conformity. The greatest enemy of your success is not your competition. It is not the economy. It is not the government. The greatest enemy of your success is the overwhelming pressure to be normal. Most people are terrified of being different. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to fit in. We are taught to follow the rules, to color within the lines, and to seek the approval of our peers. This conditioning creates a psychological cage that I call the 99% trap. It is a state of being where your decisions are driven by the fear of what other people might think. Most people would rather be wrong in a crowd than right by themselves. They find safety in numbers, even if those numbers are heading straight toward a life of quiet desperation and unfulfilled potential. To believe in yourself, you must first understand the psychology of conformity and how it is holding you back. The 99% are governed by the law of social proof. They look to others to determine how to act, what to believe, and what is possible. If everyone around them is complaining about their jobs, they assume that work is meant to be a soul-crushing grind. If everyone around them is living paycheck to paycheck, they assume that financial freedom is a pipe dream reserved for the lucky few. This herd mentality is a survival mechanism left over from our evolutionary past. In the wild, Being cast out from the tribe meant certain death. But in the modern world, the tribe is often the very thing that is killing your dreams. The tribe wants you to stay the same because your growth makes them uncomfortable. When you start to believe in yourself, when you start to take risks and strive for more, you are essentially holding up a mirror to the people around you. You are showing them what they could be doing if they weren't so afraid. This often triggers a negative reaction. They will call you unrealistic. They will tell you to be careful. They will try to pull you back down to their level. This is not because they hate you, but because they hate the realization that they are settling. You must be prepared for this. You must understand that seeking the approval of the 99% is a guaranteed way to stay among them. Self-belief requires a degree of psychological isolation. It requires you to be okay with being the only person in the room who believes in your vision. Most people cannot handle this. They need the constant reassurance of the group. They check their social media feeds to see if their opinions are trending. They consult their friends before making even the smallest life changes. They have outsourced their self-worth to the collective. This is a recipe for mediocrity. The 1%, the individuals who change the world, the people who build empires and break records, are those who have escaped the 99% trap. They have developed a thick skin and a focused mind. They realize that the opinions of the masses are usually wrong. Think about it. Most people are not healthy. Most people are not wealthy. Most people are not deeply happy. Why on earth would you want their advice on how to live your life? Why would you care if they approve of your goals? To break free, you must perform a radical audit of your social influences. You must recognize when you are conforming just to avoid friction. The psychology of conformity is subtle. It shows up in the way you dress, the way you speak, and the goals you set for yourself. Are you pursuing that career because you actually want it, or because it is what is expected of you? Are you buying that house because you need it, or because it is the next logical step in the script of a normal life? Most people are living a scripted existence. They are following a path that was laid out for them by people who were just as lost as they are. To believe in yourself is to burn the script. It is to realize that you are the author of your own life, and that you have the power to write any ending you choose. This is a terrifying realization for most people. With total freedom comes total responsibility. If you aren't following a script, then you have no one to blame but yourself if things go wrong. The 99% would rather have someone else to blame than have the freedom to succeed on their own terms. They cling to their excuses like life rafts. They blame their upbringing, their lack of resources, or their bad luck. They do this because it protects their ego. If it's not their fault, then they don't have to change. But you are different. You are listening to this because you are tired of the excuses. You are ready to step out of the herd and into your own power. This requires a shift in how you view social validation. You must move from being other-directed to being inner-directed. You must develop a set of internal values and standards that are more important to you than the applause of the crowd. When you have an internal compass, you no longer need the world to tell you which way to go. You become unshakable. While the 99% are blown about by the winds of fashion and public opinion, you remain grounded in your own truth. This doesn't mean you become a hermit. It means you become a leader. People are naturally drawn to those who have a strong sense of self-belief because most people are desperately lacking it. They are looking for someone to show them the way. By escaping the 99% trap, you become a beacon for others who want to do the same. But your primary focus must always be your own liberation. You must be willing to walk away from the crowd, even if it means walking alone for a while. The path to greatness is always a lonely one at the beginning. It is only after you have achieved success that the crowd will come rushing back, claiming they believed in you all along. Don't be fooled by them. Remember who was there when you were just a person with a dream and a refusal to conform. Believe in yourself enough to be the odd one out. Believe in yourself enough to be misunderstood. Believe in yourself enough to leave the 99% behind. Chapter 3. Auditing Your Inner Dialogue and the Language of Power. Your mind is a battlefield, and the most important weapon in your arsenal is your language. Most people are completely unaware of the constant stream of self-talk that dictates their reality. They believe that their thoughts are objective observations of the world, when in fact, their thoughts are creating their world. If you want to change your life, you must first change the way you speak to yourself. The language of the 99% is a language of limitation, doubt, and victimhood. They use phrases like "I can't," "I don't know how," "it's too hard," or "I'm not the kind of person who." These words are not just descriptions, they are commands. When you tell yourself you can't do something, your brain stops looking for solutions and starts looking for justifications. You are essentially shutting down your own intelligence. To believe in yourself, you must perform a rigorous audit of your inner dialogue and replace the language of weakness with the language of power. This is not about empty affirmations or staring in the mirror and telling yourself you're a billionaire when you're broke. It is about a fundamental shift in how you frame your experiences and your capabilities. Instead of saying "I can't," start asking "How can I?" This simple shift from a declarative statement of failure to an interrogative search for a solution changes the entire chemistry of your brain. It moves you from a state of paralysis to a state of agency. Most people are experts at identifying problems, but they are amateurs at finding solutions because their language is focused on the obstacle rather than the outcome. You must become a master of framing. When you face a setback, do you tell yourself this is a disaster, or do you tell yourself this is a challenge that will make me stronger? The event is the same, but the internal narrative determines your response. The language of power is direct, assertive, and ownership-oriented. It replaces "I have to" with "I get to." It replaces "I should" with "I will." Think about the difference in energy between those words. "I should" implies a heavy burden of external expectation and a high likelihood of procrastination. "I will" is a declaration of intent and a commitment to action. Most people live in the realm of "I should." They have a long list of things they know they ought to be doing, but they never do them because they haven't made the internal switch to "I will." Self-belief is the byproduct of using the language of power consistently. You must also be wary of the subtle ways you diminish yourself in conversation with others. Do you apologize for things that don't require an apology? Do you downplay your achievements to avoid making others feel uncomfortable? Do you use hedging language like "I think," or "maybe," or "I'm just"? This kind of language signals to the world and to your own subconscious that you do not fully stand behind your words. It is the language of someone who is seeking permission. The exceptional individual speaks with conviction. They don't need to shout to be heard. Their certainty is evident in the clarity and economy of their speech. To believe in yourself, you must stop being a spectator of your own thoughts and start being a director. When a thought of self-doubt arises, and it will, you must recognize it for what it is, a remnant of your old conditioning. You don't have to fight it, but you don't have to believe it either. You can simply observe it and say, "That is an interesting thought, but it is not useful to me." Then, you deliberately replace it with a thought that aligns with your goals. This is a form of mental discipline that most people never develop. They let their minds run wild, like a garden overtaken by weeds. They wonder why they feel anxious and insecure, not realizing that they have been planting the seeds of anxiety and insecurity with every negative thought they allow to take root. You must be ruthless in weeding your mental garden. You must cultivate a narrative of competence and resilience. This doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes. It means speaking to yourself about those mistakes in a way that leads to improvement rather than despair. Instead of saying, "I'm so stupid for making that error," say, "I made a mistake. Here is what I learned, and here is how I will ensure it doesn't happen again." This is the language of a professional. This is the language of someone who believes in their ability to learn and adapt. The 99% use their language to build a case against themselves. They are like lawyers prosecuting their own potential. They gather evidence of every past failure and use it to argue why they shouldn't try anything new. You must become the defense attorney for your own greatness. You must build a case for why you are capable, why you are worthy, and why your success is inevitable if you stay the course. This requires you to look at your history through a different lens. Instead of focusing on the times you fell, focus on the times you got back up. Instead of focusing on the things you lack, focus on the skills you have developed and the challenges you have overcome. The language of power is also about the future. Most people talk about their dreams in the conditional tense. They say, "I would like to," or "one day I might." This keeps the dream at a safe distance. It prevents it from becoming a reality. You must start speaking about your goals as if they are already in progress. Use the present tense. "I am building a business. I am becoming a leader. I am mastering this skill." This creates a psychological tension between your words and your current reality, and your brain will work overtime to close that gap. This is how you use your mind to pull yourself toward your goals. Remember, the world will only believe what you tell it about yourself. If you speak the language of doubt, the world will doubt you. If you speak the language of power, the world will eventually yield to your conviction. This is not magic. It is psychology. It is the result of aligning your internal and external communication with the version of yourself you are committed to becoming. Auditing your inner dialogue is a lifelong process. It requires constant vigilance and a refusal to settle for sloppy, self-defeating thoughts. But the reward is a level of self-belief that is truly unshakable. When you master your language, you master your life. Chapter 4: The Currency of Competence and the Myth of Fake It Till You Make It. There is a popular piece of advice that has done more harm than good. Fake it till you make it. This idea suggests that you can simply act confident, and the world will eventually give you what you want. While there is some truth to the power of body language and presentation, this advice ignores the most important element of self-belief: competence. You cannot truly believe in yourself if you have no skills, no discipline, and no track record of success. Genuine self-belief is not a feeling. It is an assessment of your own capabilities. It is the result of stacking wins, day after day, until the evidence of your own excellence is undeniable. I call this the currency of competence. Most people want the confidence without the competence. They want to feel like an expert without putting in the 10,000 hours of practice. They want the respect of their peers without having produced anything worthy of respect. This leads to a fragile, superficial kind of confidence that crumbles at the first sign of real pressure. You do not want that. You want the kind of belief that is backed by the hard currency of results. The 99% are always looking for a shortcut. They want the secret hack or the overnight success. But the 1% know that true self-belief is forged in the struggle. It is developed during the long hours of work when no one is cheering for you. It is built through the mastery of difficult tasks. When you know you are the best at what you do, you don't have to try to be confident. You just are. Confidence is the natural byproduct of competence. To build this currency, you must commit to a path of radical self-improvement. You must become a lifelong student of your craft. Most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They settle into a routine and do the bare minimum required to keep their jobs. They are stagnant. And because they are stagnant, their self-belief begins to wither. They know deep down that they are not growing. They know they are not pushing their limits. This internal knowledge creates a sense of insecurity that no amount of faking it can hide. You, on the other hand, must be obsessed with growth. You must look for the hardest tasks and tackle them head-on. Every time you master a new skill, your self-belief increases. Every time you solve a complex problem, your internal value goes up. This is a tangible, measurable process. Think of your self-belief as a bank account. Every time you do something difficult, every time you push through discomfort, every time you achieve a goal, you are making a deposit. Every time you quit, every time you choose the easy path, and every time you make an excuse, you are making a withdrawal. Most people have a negative balance. They have spent their lives making withdrawals, and they wonder why they feel bankrupt when it's time to take a risk. You must become a saver. You must hoard wins. This starts with the small things. The 99% overlook the small things because they are looking for the grand gesture. But the small things are where the foundation is laid. If you can't trust yourself to keep your desk clean, How can you trust yourself to run a company? If you can't trust yourself to work out for 20 minutes, how can you trust yourself to stay disciplined during a year-long project? Competence in the small things builds the confidence for the big things. This is the reality of human psychology. Our brains are constantly monitoring our behavior to see what kind of person we are. If your brain sees you consistently taking action and getting results, it will reward you with the feeling of self-belief. It is an internal feedback loop. You must also realize that competence is not just about technical skills. It is about the ability to manage yourself. It is about emotional intelligence, resilience, and the ability to stay focused in a world of distractions. These are skills that can be practiced and mastered. Most people are victims of their own impulses. They are slaves to their phones, their moods, and their appetites. This lack of self-control is a major drain on self-belief. How can you believe in yourself if you are not even the master of your own body and mind? True competence includes the mastery of your internal environment. This requires discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It is the willingness to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. The 99% only work when they feel motivated. But motivation is a fickle friend. It comes and goes. The 1% rely on discipline. They know that the work must be done regardless of their emotional state. And every time they choose discipline over comfort, they are earning more currency of competence. This creates a level of self-respect that is immune to the opinions of others. When you have done the work, you don't need anyone to tell you that you are good. You already know. This is the ultimate form of self-belief. It is quiet, it is steady, and it is undeniable. It is not the loud, boastful confidence of the insecure. It is the calm, centered confidence of the capable. Stop trying to fake it. Stop looking for the shortcut. Instead, dive into the work. Embrace the difficulty. Seek out the challenges that will force you to grow. The more you can do, the more you will believe in yourself. The currency of competence is the only currency that never devalues. It is the only thing that can truly buy you the life you want. Spend your time earning it, and the world will have no choice but to recognize your value. Believe in your ability to learn, to grow, and to master. That is the only belief that matters. Chapter 5. Decoupling from external approval and the poison of validation. We live in an age of digital validation. Most people are addicted to the hit of dopamine they get from a like, a comment, or a share. They have outsourced their sense of self-worth to a crowd of strangers on the internet. This is a catastrophic mistake. If your self-belief is based on the approval of others, you have built your house on shifting sands. External approval is a drug that feels good in the moment but leaves you hollow and dependent in the long run. To truly believe in yourself, you must decouple your identity from the opinions of the world. You must learn to value your own judgment above all else. I call this the poison of validation. The 99% are constantly seeking permission. They want someone to tell them they are doing a good job. They want someone to tell them they are attractive, smart, and successful. But the moment that validation is withdrawn, their self-esteem collapses. They are like puppets being pulled by the strings of public opinion. This makes them easy to control and easy to discourage. If you need the world to tell you that you are great, the world can also tell you that you are nothing. The 1% understand that the only validation that matters is the validation that comes from within. They have an internal scoreboard. They are not competing with others. They are competing with the highest version of themselves. They don't care if the crowd is cheering or booing, as long as they know they are living according to their own principles and pursuing their own vision. Most people find this incredibly difficult because we are social animals. We have a deep-seated need to belong. But the price of belonging to the 99% is the sacrifice of your own individuality. To belong to the herd, you must think like the herd and act like the herd. You must keep your ambitions low so you don't make others feel insecure. You must mirror the mediocrity of those around you. To believe in yourself is to accept that you may not always belong. It is to realize that being misunderstood is often a sign that you are on the right track. The world usually rejects the new, the bold, and the exceptional until it can no longer ignore them. Think about every great innovator, artist, or leader in history. At some point, they were all laughed at. They were all told they were wrong. They were all pressured to conform. If they had listened to the crowd, we would still be living in the dark ages. Their self-belief was a shield that protected them from the poison of external criticism. You must develop that same shield. This requires you to stop caring about being liked and start caring about being respected. And the most important person to earn respect from is yourself. When you make a decision that is right for you, even if it is unpopular, you are strengthening your internal authority. You are telling your subconscious that your values matter more than social friction. Most people are terrified of social friction. They will say yes when they want to say no. They will stay in jobs they hate and relationships that drain them, all to avoid the discomfort of a difficult conversation or the judgment of their peers. This is a betrayal of the self. Every time you choose external approval over internal truth, you are poisoning your self-belief. You are telling yourself that other people's opinions are more important than your own life. You must break this habit. You must become comfortable with the idea that not everyone will like you. In fact, if everyone likes you, it's a sign that you aren't standing for anything. You are just a chameleon blending into your surroundings. The exceptional individual is a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't move to accommodate the ships. It stays in one place and shines its light, providing a clear point of reference. Some ships will use that light to find their way, and others will crash because they ignored it. The lighthouse doesn't care. Its only job is to shine. You must become the lighthouse of your own life. You must define your own success. Most people are chasing a version of success that was handed to them by the media, their parents, or their culture. They want the car, the house, and the title not because they truly value them, but because those things are markers of social status. They are seeking the approval that those things bring, but this is a never-ending race. There will always be someone with a better car, a bigger house, or a higher title. If your self-belief is tied to status, you will always be insecure. True belief comes from knowing that you are living a life of meaning and purpose, regardless of how it looks to the outside world. This requires a radical shift in perspective. You must start looking inward for your rewards. Instead of asking, did they like it? Ask, did I give it my all? Instead of asking, is this popular? Ask, is this true? This doesn't mean you ignore feedback. It means you filter feedback through your own internal standards. You take what is useful and discard the rest. You don't let the noise of the world drown out your own voice. The poison of validation is pervasive, but it can be neutralized. Start by limiting your consumption of social media. Stop comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. Recognize that most of what you see online is a curated performance designed to elicit envy and approval. It isn't real. What is real is your daily effort, your internal growth, and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. When you stop seeking the world's permission, you gain a level of freedom that most people will never know. You become the master of your own destiny. You realize that you don't need anyone to tell you that you are enough. You are enough because you say you are. You are worthy because you decided to be. This is the ultimate decoupling. This is the birth of an unshakable self-belief. From this point on, the world's opinions are just background noise. You are focused on the signal. You are focused on the vision. You are focused on becoming the best possible version of yourself for yourself. Chapter 6: Navigating the Valley of Doubt and the Art of Resilience. There will be moments when your self-belief vanishes. There will be days when the weight of your goals feels too heavy to carry, and the voice of your inner critic becomes a deafening roar. This is the valley of doubt. Most people, when they reach this valley, turn around and go back to their old lives. They take the disappearance of their confidence as a sign that they were never meant for greatness. They conclude that they were delusional to ever believe in themselves. But the 1% understand that the valley of doubt is not a dead end. It is a rite of passage. It is the place where your resolve is tested and your true strength is forged. Resilience is the ability to maintain your self-belief even when there is no evidence to support it. It is the art of navigating the darkness until the light returns. You must understand that doubt is a natural part of the human experience. Even the most successful people on the planet feel it. The difference is that they don't let it stop them. The 99% view doubt as a red light. The 1% view it as a yellow light, a signal to proceed with caution but to keep moving. When you are in the valley of doubt, your mind will try to play tricks on you. It will remind you of every failure you've ever had. It will magnify your flaws and minimize your strengths. It will tell you that the path ahead is too steep and that you are too weak to climb it. This is a survival mechanism designed to keep you safe and comfortable. Your brain hates uncertainty, and growth is inherently uncertain. To navigate this valley, you must develop a set of strategies for maintaining your momentum. The first strategy is to focus on the process rather than the outcome. When you are overwhelmed by the distance to your goal, look at your feet. What is the one small step you can take right now? By narrowing your focus to the immediate task, You bypass the part of your brain that is screaming about the future. Action is the best antidote to doubt. Most people try to think their way out of doubt, but you cannot think your way into a new way of acting. You must act your way into a new way of thinking. When you feel unsure, do something. Anything. Make a phone call, write a page, lift a weight. The simple act of moving forward sends a signal to your brain that you are still in control. The second strategy is to remember your why. Why did you start this journey in the first place? What is the core conviction that drives you? Most people lose their self-belief because they lose sight of their purpose. They get bogged down in the day-to-day grind and forget the vision that originally inspired them. You must keep your vision front and center. Write it down and read it every day. Visualize it so clearly that it feels more real than your current struggle. Your why is the fuel that will get you through the valley of doubt. If your why is strong enough, you can endure anyhow. The third strategy is to audit your environment. Who are you surrounding yourself with during your darkest moments? The 99% are surrounded by other doubters. They have friends and family members who, though they may mean well, will reinforce their fears. They will say things like maybe it's not the right time, or I told you it would be hard. This is the last thing you need when you are struggling. You need to seek out the voices of those who have already crossed the valley. You need mentors, authors, and peers who will remind you of your potential and challenge you to keep going. Resilience is also about how you talk to yourself when things go wrong. Most people are incredibly cruel to themselves when they fail. They use failure as a weapon to beat themselves into submission. This is a catastrophic waste of energy. The exceptional individual views failure as a temporary setback and a valuable learning opportunity. They have a short memory for failure and a long memory for success. They treat themselves with the same compassion and firmness they would offer a student they were coaching. They say, okay, that didn't work. Why? What can we change? Now, get back in the game. This is the mindset of a champion. You must also realize that your self-belief doesn't have to be at 100% all the time. It is okay to feel afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. Self-belief is not the absence of doubt, it is the refusal to let doubt have the final word. There will be times when you have to fake it not to the world but to yourself. You will have to act like you believe even when you don't. You will have to put one foot in front of the other through sheer force of will. And a strange thing happens when you do this. The belief eventually catches up. The valley of doubt is where the 99% are separated from the 1%. The 99% want a path that is always sunny and flat. They want a guarantee of success before they start. But there are no guarantees in the pursuit of greatness. The only guarantee is that if you quit, you will fail. If you keep moving, if you refuse to let the darkness consume you, you will eventually reach the other side. And when you do, you will find that your self-belief is stronger than it ever was before. It will no longer be a fragile theoretical concept. It will be a battle-tested, ironclad conviction. You will know that you can survive the worst that your own mind can throw at you. You will know that you are resilient. This knowledge is more valuable than any external success. It is the foundation of a life lived with power and purpose. So when the doubt comes, and it will, do not fear it. Welcome it as the test it is. Stand your ground, keep your eyes on the horizon, and whatever you do, do not stop. The valley is temporary, but the strength you gain there will last a lifetime. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Consistency and the Compounding of Belief. Most people think that self-belief comes from big, dramatic moments of success. They wait for the grand slam, the big promotion, or the sudden breakthrough to finally feel like they are enough. But the 1% know the truth. Self-belief is built in the boring, repetitive, daily grind. It is the result of the discipline of consistency. When you do what you said you were going to do, day after day, week after week, you are engaging in the most powerful form of self-persuasion. You are proving to yourself, through the compounding of small actions, that you are a person of substance. Consistency is the ultimate differentiator. Most people are capable of greatness for a day. Anyone can go to the gym once. Anyone can work hard for 8 hours once. Anyone can be positive for an afternoon. But the 99% fall apart over the long haul. They are addicted to the novelty of a new start, but they lack the stamina for the middle of the race. They quit when the initial excitement wears off and the reality of the work sets in. Because they are inconsistent, they never see the results of compounding. And because they never see results, their self-belief remains low. It is a vicious cycle of starting and stopping that leaves them feeling like they are constantly running in place. You must break this cycle by valuing consistency over intensity. It is better to work for 1 hour every single day than to work for 12 hours once a week. It is better to save $50 every month than to save $500 once a year. Why? Because the daily habit reinforces your identity. Every day that you show up, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. These votes add up. Over time, the weight of your consistent actions becomes so heavy that your self-belief becomes your default state. You no longer have to try to believe in yourself. The evidence of your consistency is so overwhelming that doubt becomes illogical. This is the compounding effect. In the beginning, the progress is slow. You might feel like you're doing all this work for nothing. This is where most people quit. They don't see the needle moving, so they assume the work isn't working. But progress is often non-linear. It is like heating an ice cube. From 25 degrees to 31 degrees, nothing seems to happen. But then, at 32 degrees, it starts to melt. The previous 6 degrees of heating weren't wasted. They were necessary to reach the breakthrough. Your consistency is like those degrees of heat. You are building the internal pressure that will eventually lead to an external transformation. To master the discipline of consistency, you must remove the friction from your positive habits and add friction to your negative ones. Most people rely on willpower to stay consistent, but willpower is a finite resource. You must design your life so that consistency is the path of least resistance. If you want to believe in yourself as a healthy person, put your workout clothes out the night before. If you want to believe in yourself as a writer, set a specific time and place to write every day. Create an environment that supports your identity. The 99% are victims of their environment. They react to whatever is happening around them. You must be the creator of your environment. You must also learn to embrace the boring days. There will be days when the work feels like a chore. There will be days when you feel no inspiration and no drive. These are the most important days. When you show up and do the work anyway, you are earning the highest form of self-respect. You are telling yourself that your goals are more important than your feelings. Most people are slaves to their feelings. If they don't feel like it, they don't do it. But feelings are fleeting and unreliable. Discipline is steady. By choosing discipline over feelings, you are building a version of yourself that is unshakable. This consistency also builds trust with the outside world. People don't trust those who are erratic and unpredictable. They trust those who show up year after year and deliver results. When you are consistent, opportunities start to find you. People want to work with you, invest in you, and follow you because they know they can rely on you. This external trust further reinforces your internal belief. It creates a positive feedback loop that accelerates your growth. But remember, the primary goal of consistency is the internal shift. It is about the relationship you have with yourself. Every day you stay consistent, you are keeping a promise to yourself. You are building self-integrity. And self-integrity is the bedrock of self-belief. You cannot believe in yourself if you cannot trust yourself to do what you said you would do. Stop looking for the big win. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to start. The perfect moment is now, and the big win is the sum of 1,000 small wins. Commit to the process. Commit to the daily grind. Commit to being the person who shows up no matter what. The compounding of your efforts will eventually produce a life that the 99% will call lucky. But you will know the truth. You will know it was the result of 1,000 boring decisions made with unwavering consistency. Believe in the power of the small. Believe in the power of the daily. Believe in the power of you to stay the course. This is how empires are built. This is how legends are made. Chapter 8. Protecting your environment and the audit of influence. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You've heard this before, but most people treat it as a catchy quote rather than a fundamental law of human psychology. If you want to believe in yourself, you must be ruthless about who and what you allow into your mental space. Your environment is either a greenhouse for your growth or a graveyard for your dreams. The 99% are careless with their influences. They spend their time with people who complain, people who settle, and people who are threatened by the success of others. They consume media that focuses on fear, drama, and consumerism. They wonder why they feel anxious and unmotivated, not realizing that they are poisoning their own minds every single day. To protect your self-belief, you must perform a radical audit of your environment and eliminate anything that drains your energy or reinforces your doubts. This is the audit of influence. Start with the people in your life. This is the hardest part. You may have friends or family members who have been with you for years, but who are fundamentally misaligned with the person you are becoming. They might not be bad people, but they are comfortable in their mediocrity, and they want you to stay comfortable too. They will subtly, or not so subtly, undermine your ambitions. They will remind you of your past mistakes. They will project their own fears onto you. You must realize that you cannot change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. You must distance yourself from the doubters and the cynics. You need to find the 1%ers, the people who are playing the game at a higher level than you are. These are the people who will challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable. When you are surrounded by people who believe in themselves and are taking massive action, it becomes easier for you to do the same. Success becomes normal. Ambition becomes the baseline. Most people are afraid to seek out these high-level circles because they feel inadequate. They are intimidated by the success of others, but you must embrace that discomfort. You want to be the smallest fish in the biggest pond. That is where the growth happens. The second part of the audit is your information diet. What are you feeding your brain? Most people consume a steady diet of digital junk food. They spend hours scrolling through social media, watching mindless entertainment, and following the 24-hour news cycle. This creates a state of constant distraction and comparison. It makes you feel like you are falling behind, and it fills your mind with the worries of the world that you have no control over. To believe in yourself, you must become a producer rather than a consumer. You must guard your attention as your most valuable asset. Replace the junk food with high-quality information. Read books by people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Listen to podcasts that expand your thinking. Study the principles of psychology, business, and personal development. You want to saturate your mind with the language and logic of success. The 99% are experts on the lives of celebrities and the latest political scandals. You must be an expert on your own potential and the strategies required to reach it. The third part of the audit is your physical environment. Your surroundings send a constant stream of signals to your subconscious. A cluttered, chaotic home or workspace signals a cluttered, chaotic mind. If you are living in an environment that reflects a lack of self-respect, you will find it much harder to believe in your own value. Take control of your space. Clean your desk. Organize your home. Surround yourself with things that inspire you and remind you of your goals. This isn't about luxury, it's about intentionality. It's about creating a space that tells you every day that you are a person of order, focus, and excellence. The 99% live in a state of entropy. They let their environments degrade, just as they let their dreams degrade. You must be the force of order in your own life. Protecting your environment also means protecting your time. Most people are too accessible. They allow anyone to interrupt them with a phone call, a text, or an email. They spend their days responding to other people's priorities rather than their own. This sends a message to your subconscious that your time, and by extension, your life, is not valuable. You must set boundaries. You must learn the power of the word no. You must protect the hours you have dedicated to your own growth. When you treat your time as sacred, the world will eventually do the same. But it starts with you. You must believe that your work and your vision are important enough to warrant protection. This audit is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. As you grow, You will outgrow certain environments and certain people. This can be painful, but it is necessary. You cannot reach the next level of your life while clinging to the baggage of the previous one. The exceptional individual is always looking to upgrade their influences. They are always seeking out new challenges and new perspectives. They understand that their mind is a sacred space, and they refuse to let it be defiled by negativity or mediocrity. By taking control of your environment, you are creating a buffer against the world's indifference. You are surrounding yourself with a reality that supports your self-belief rather than attacking it. You are making success inevitable by aligning your external world with your internal goals. Stop being a passive observer of your life. Start being the architect of your reality. Choose your circle wisely. Feed your mind carefully. Respect your space and your time. When your environment is in alignment with your vision, your self-belief will soar. You will no longer be fighting against the current. You will be the current. Chapter 9. Radical Responsibility and the End of the Victim Mindset. The most profound shift you can make in your life is the move from victimhood to radical responsibility. Most people believe that their lives are the result of external factors: their boss, their parents, the economy, or luck. They are always looking for someone or something to blame for their lack of success. This is the victim mindset, and it is the absolute death of self-belief. When you blame others, you are giving away your power. You are saying that your life is not in your hands. To truly believe in yourself, you must accept that you and you alone are responsible for everything in your life: your successes, your failures, and your current situation. This is radical responsibility. The 99% love to play the victim because it's easy. It's comfortable. It absolves them of the need to take action. If it's the government's fault that they are broke, then they don't have to work harder. If it's their partner's fault that they are unhappy, then they don't have to change their behavior. But this comfort comes at a terrible price. Victims are powerless. They are at the mercy of the world. They can never believe in themselves because they don't believe they have any agency. They are like leaves blowing in the wind, hopping for a favorable breeze but unable to steer their own course. You must choose a different path. You must realize that even if you are not at fault for a situation, you are still responsible for your response to it. This is the essence of freedom. Radical responsibility means that you stop making excuses. Period. It doesn't matter if the market crashed. It doesn't matter if you had a difficult childhood. It doesn't matter if someone treated you unfairly. The question is always, what are you going to do about it now? The 1% don't waste time complaining. They spend their time looking for the next move. They understand that every challenge is an opportunity to exercise their own power. When you take responsibility for a failure, it can be painful for the ego, but it is incredibly empowering for the self. It means that if you caused the problem, you can also cause the solution. This is the foundation of genuine self-belief. It is the knowledge that you are the captain of your ship. Most people are terrified of this level of responsibility. They find it overwhelming. But once you embrace it, it becomes the ultimate source of strength. You no longer have to wait for the world to change. You can change yourself. You can change your habits, your skills, and your perspective. You realize that you are the primary variable in the equation of your life. This shift in mindset changes everything. When you encounter an obstacle, you don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What can I learn from this? And how can I overcome this?" You move from a state of passivity to a state of aggression. You become a problem solver rather than a problem identifier. This proactive stance is what builds self-belief. It is the result of seeing yourself repeatedly overcome the challenges that would break a victim. Radical responsibility also means owning your successes. Most people, even when they do well, attribute it to luck or external help. They have a form of imposter syndrome because they haven't fully claimed their own agency. You must own your wins. You must recognize that they were the result of your decisions, your discipline, and your effort. This isn't about ego, it's about accuracy. If you don't take credit for your successes, you won't be able to repeat them. You need to understand the mechanics of your own achievement so you can build on it. The 99% are stuck in a loop of powerlessness because they won't own their lives. They are waiting for a savior, for a lucky break, or for the world to suddenly become fair. But the world is not fair, and no one is coming to save you. This is the best news you will ever hear. It means you don't have to wait. It means the power is already in your hands. To believe in yourself is to believe in your own ability to navigate an unfair world. It is to believe that your will is stronger than your circumstances. This requires a high level of self-discipline and a refusal to settle for mediocrity. You must hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else could ever hold you to. When you become your own harshest judge and your own most demanding coach, you no longer fear the judgment of others. You have already faced the most important critic, yourself. And when you can look yourself in the mirror and know that you are giving everything you have, your self-belief becomes unshakable. This is the end of the victim mindset. This is the beginning of your true life. From this moment on, there are no excuses. There are only results and the lessons learned on the way to getting them. You are the architect, the builder, and the occupant of your own destiny. Believe in your power to create. Believe in your power to change. Believe in your power to lead. When you take radical responsibility, you are finally free. Chapter 10: The Identity Shift and the Mastery of Being. We have talked about belief, competence, consistency, and responsibility. But the final piece of the puzzle, the ultimate goal of this journey, is a total identity shift. Most people spend their lives trying to change what they do. They try to change their habits, their jobs, or their relationships. But they never change who they are. They are trying to build a new life on an old foundation. This is why most self-improvement efforts fail. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you are. To achieve the extraordinary, you must stop trying to become successful and start being the person who is already successful. This is the mastery of being. Your identity is the set of beliefs you hold about yourself. It is the "I am" statements that define your reality. Most people have an identity rooted in the 99%. They say, "I am a procrastinator," "I am bad with money," or "I am not a leader." These identity statements act as a thermostat for their lives. Every time they start to do well, their identity pulls them back down to the level they think they belong at. They self-sabotage to stay consistent with their internal image. This is why people who win the lottery often lose it all, and why people who lose weight often gain it back. Their external reality changed, but their identity did not. To believe in yourself at the highest level, you must deliberately rewrite your identity. You must decide who you are, regardless of your current circumstances. The 1%ers don't wait for success to feel like winners. They feel like winners, they think like winners, and they act like winners long before the world recognizes them as such. They have made the shift. They have decided that they are the kind of person for whom success is inevitable. This is not about delusion. It is about intentionality. You must choose the identity that serves your highest vision. If you want to be a world-class entrepreneur, you must start making decisions like a world-class entrepreneur would today. When faced with a choice, don't ask what should I do. Ask what would a world-class entrepreneur do. This shifts your perspective from your current, limited self to your future, empowered self. It allows you to tap into a higher level of wisdom and discipline. Most people are reactive. They wait for life to happen to them and then they respond. The exceptional individual is proactive. They define their identity and then they project it onto the world. This requires a high level of mental rehearsal and visualization. You must spend time every day imagining yourself as the person you want to be. You must feel the feelings associated with that identity, the confidence, the clarity, the peace, and the drive. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vivid imagination and a real experience. By repeatedly visualizing your new identity, you are literally rewiring your neural pathways. You are making your future self more real to your subconscious than your past self. This identity shift also requires you to let go of the past. Most people are haunted by their history. They use their past mistakes as a cage to limit their future. They say, "I failed before, so I will fail again." But your past is not your future unless you choose to live there. To believe in yourself, you must grant yourself a total amnesty for everything that has happened up until this point. You are not your past. You are the person who is choosing who to be right now. Every moment is a fresh start. Every breath is an opportunity to redefine yourself. The 1% use their past as a library of lessons, not a prison of regrets. They understand that identity is a choice, not a life sentence. This mastery of being also means living with a sense of certainty. When you have truly made the identity shift, you no longer need to try to believe in yourself. The belief is just there. It is part of your DNA. You move through the world with a different energy. People can sense it. They see the way you walk, the way you talk, and the way you handle challenges. You have become a person of power. This doesn't mean you don't face difficulties. It means you face them from a place of strength rather than a place of lack. You are no longer seeking validation because you are already valid. You are no longer chasing success because you are already a success in your own mind. The external world will eventually catch up to your internal reality. It has to. This is the law of identity. Most people never make this shift because they are too attached to their old stories. They find comfort in their limitations, but you have outgrown that comfort. You are ready to step into the unknown and claim your true self. This is the final step in your transformation. You have built the foundation, escaped the trap, mastered your language, earned your competence, protected your environment, and taken responsibility. Now you must simply be the leader, be the creator, be the person who believes in themselves so deeply that the rest of the world has no choice but to follow. This is the ultimate mastery. This is the life you were born to live. Closing, the final command. We have come to the end of this journey, but for you, the real work is only beginning. You now possess the blueprint for a complete internal revolution. You have the tools to dismantle the doubts that have held you back and the strategies to build a life of extraordinary impact. But knowledge without action is the ultimate waste. The world is full of well-informed failures. Do not let yourself be one of them. The 99% will listen to this and feel a temporary spark of motivation, only to return to their old habits by tomorrow morning. They will let the noise of the world and the whispers of their own insecurity drown out the truths they have heard here. But you are not most people. You are the exception. The moment you stop listening to this, you face a choice. You can go back to seeking permission, making excuses, and waiting for a sign. Or you can step into the identity of the person you were meant to be. You can start stacking wins, keeping promises, and taking radical responsibility. You can protect your mind and your time with a ferocity that the average person will never understand. Believe in yourself not because it is easy, but because it is the only path to a life worth living. Believe in yourself because the alternative is a slow death of regret. The version of you that is confident, powerful, and unstoppable is not a fantasy. It is your true potential, waiting to be realized through consistent, disciplined action. Your external world will now begin to shift to match your internal conviction. It won't happen overnight, and it won't happen without a fight. But if you stay the course, if you refuse to settle, and if you never, ever stop believing in your own capacity to grow, you will achieve things that the 99% think are impossible. You will look back on this moment as the day everything changed. You will see that the only thing you ever needed was the courage to trust yourself. The world is waiting for your contribution. It is waiting for your leadership. It is waiting for your unique light. Stop asking if you are ready. You are ready because you have decided to be. Go out and claim your greatness. Believe in yourself, and the world will have no choice but to believe in you too. This is your life. This is your moment. Own it.